has meant a kind of reversion back to an old-style way of thinking about gender. Indeed, one can easily make the case that white female allegiance to white supremacy trumps feminist sisterhood. That is really heartbreaking. Just as the more recent focus on intersectionality challenges everyone to examine gender from a more complex standpoint, when intersectionality is a given, it cannot be assumed that simply addressing the issue of patriarchy will lead to liberation. By naming the system we live within as imperialist, white supremacist, capitalist patriarchy, there can no longer be any insistence that gendered exploitation is simply about men against women. Indeed, one can easily make the case that white female allegiance to white supremacy is the face of the faux feminism. Clearly, white females can be victimized by male domination, and yet in the name of white supremacy, dominate in exploitative and oppressive ways Black people, people of color. Visionary feminist theory posits that dominator culture is the foundation supporting systems of domination: imperialism, white supremacy, capitalism, patriarchy. Given the way in which these interlocking systems work together to promote and sustain a worldwide culture of dominance and submission, of exploitation and oppression, feminist advocates must be continually critically vigilant to ensure that the way in which we talk, teach, and act does not challenge one system while reinforcing another. Sadly, individual Black women, women of color in academia, are consistently victimized right now by racialized sexism, often assaulted, harassed, and wounded by the very folks who claim to be our allies in struggle. While bonds of solidarity exist between individual Black women of color and individual white women, all too often, white supremacist modes of thinking and behavior separate us. All too often, we have a discourse of intersectionality, then proceed to live our lives in ways that are more akin to folks who are not concerned about social justice. Perhaps the most valuable lesson we can learn from recognizing interlocking systems is the shift away from binary thinking, from dualism, that then leads to a letting go of blame so that we can focus on issues of accountability. If we only lay claim to those aspects of the system where we define ourselves as the oppressed and someone else as the oppressor, then we continually fail to see the larger picture. After more than 40 years of talking about domination, I can testify that masses of people do not wish to see the larger picture. When we look at the world from the standpoint of that larger